work session. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bozen?
Here.
Mr. Nichols?
Here.
Mr. Amos?
Here.
Mr. Childs? Mr. Greider?
Here.
Ms. Wilder? Here. And Mr. Foyce?
Here. I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda and the minutes of the April 18th, 2022 meeting as proposed. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And we are going to start off on a discussion of sanitation department projects. Randy, good to see you.
Yes, good afternoon. Randy Bennett, Public Works Division Manager. So today, along with Scott Brunson, we're going to give you an update on the sanitation department. So the first thing we want to go over today is to give you an update on routeware. I know some of the council members are new, so kind of just to give you a little bit of background as far as why we ended up implementing routeware. And this kind of goes back to we were having difficulties being able to see what Waterworks was billing and compared to what our access program was showing, and then actually what was in the cart. So there was really no way for us to be able to count the differences between the two, or the three, I should say. So small problems kind of add up. So kind of giving you guys just a little bit of background as far as what we were running into issues with. We had a lot of residents that had either the wrong size carts, more carts than that they were supposed to. We had carts that were at the wrong locations, or they were getting swapped in between residents. And because of that, there was a lot of extra carts that were out in the system. And like I said, people that had the wrong size carts. So kind of as we elaborate that, what does that equate to? So here's a little spreadsheet just to kind of show when we originally were looking at doing this, trying to compare between what our access program was showing in comparison to what Waterworks was billing. So when we went back and we originally were doing this, you can kind of see when we pulled this in one point of time in our access program, we had a little over 25,341 carts. Waterworks was billing for 23,581, which showed a discrepancy of 1,760 carts that we were not getting funds for. So when you extrapolate that out between the small, medium, and large carts, we were kind of showing a deficiency of around 25 grand a month that we were losing in revenue.
Could you repeat that number again?
It was 25,000. I think I said it wrong. 25,648.50.
Thank you.
But that was just kind of at that one moment in time because carts change all the time, but that's kind of showing that. But it's not just so much as far as what that revenue was with the carts, but it's also the landfill fees. On average, it's 0.875 gallons per gallon container as far as what that is. So when you actually take into consideration, plus all the extra time that we have to take extra carts out and everything like that, when you kind of add the two between what that loss of revenue for just the cart along with the landfill fees, it was roughly around a little over $28,000 a month that we were anticipating that we were losing. And there was no way for us to be able to rectify between the two, or reconcile, I should say, between the two of them to show that discrepancy. So that's kind of why we were looking at the software, and that's where we kind of fast forward to where we're at now. So over the last 4 months, since we've kind of gone live, we've been cleaning up the RFIDs, getting the carts out to the system. And where we're at right now is we have, as of last week, and like I said, this changes every single day because people are always calling in, but we had 2,146 discrepancies as far as what we can truly show that we're picking up. So now that we've associated RFID tags to the carts in comparison to what Waterworks is billing, we had discrepancies. We've gone through about 1,500 of those. That's where that 9,000 mark comes in. We still have more that we need to clarify, but that's what that we can 100% verify that an individual is paying for a smaller can, but actually has a larger one. That's just what we can 100% verify. I can tell you over the last few months, we've also have picked up several hundred carts, which I'll get farther in the presentation where we're talking about cart deliveries that we pulled out of the system that we know an individual or a resident was only paying for one size, but actually had more carts once we actually went out and were adding carts to them. And then once we reached out and they weren't wanting to do that, we pulled them out and we were able to repurpose those. So unfortunately for us to eventually show that loss is going to take us some time because it's going to end up showing through the landfill fees and the other portion. But I'll kind of get into that a little bit more. Some of the issues that we're still having issues with, we still have both residents and apartments that are still hoarding carts. We still have individuals that are switching carts, which is an issue. So just to give you one example, the worst one, and it's still been the worst one we found so far, we had one household that had 2 medium carts for 24 years. They never paid anything in Waterworks, which was a little over $6,000 in lost revenue on just one residence alone. We have multiple of these. I'm just showing you the worst one. They are paying now, but I just, until we were able to get into this software, there was really no way for us to be able to show that. So one of the questions is, Routeware, it was a very expensive system to implement. Between the hardware, the installation, we had to get some scanners, we had to purchase the RFID tags. We have a little over $176,000 in this. Like I said, it's very expensive, but it was the only way for us to be able to account for 3 different sizes. We have individuals that you're also able to have more carts than just one. And, trying to explain, as we kind of going back to the beginning, where it was hard for us without having some sort of software to track it, to be able to reconcile it. So plus the monthly fee, because they do the cloud hosting, because it is a lot of data, which I'll kind of get into, what that entails. So just talking about the rollout, which we're still in the process of doing. This is extremely time consuming to be able to do this. We had to go to every residence, coincide with what Waterworks is billing. If anything after 2017, the RFID tag was actually built into the cart. But as I was kind of saying, we had residents that had the wrong size cart, they had multiple carts, so as we were going through and trying to clean, track all of this data, we also were in the process of trying to clean that up. So that kind of to show you what the RFID tag looks on the middle, but it's a little blue tag. Pretty much anything that has an R on it actually has RFID tag built right into it. It's a 24-digit number, both through numbers and letters. It's amazing how many things have RFID tags built into them, because there's a lot of other entities that have that. So just so we're not tracking all of that, we kind of need to know what those parameters are, because that's where the data comes in. So we want to make sure that we keep that as short as we can, so the tablets don't have to think as hard trying to associate that RFID to that resident on that route. So pretty much it's out with the old, in with the new. You kind of see on the screen there, the top left is where we had like a paper copy kind of showing what the routes were. Now you can kind of see there's a red dot that associates, the container to that residence, along with, time date stamp as far as what's out there. So here's just to kind of zoom it in a little bit more. Like I said, it'll tell us the vehicle number, what day it is as far as the route collection, time date stamp, lat long as far as when we pick that card up. When you go to zoom it in, we could even tell you what side of the driveway we picked the card up on, whether it actually had an RFID tag at that address and what size container it is. But it also let us know, okay, is it overloaded? So the driver would have to push a button. Was it not out? They'll push a button to show that it skipped. And then with that, it takes a picture, which I should have said a little bit earlier, but the truck has 4 cameras, front, back, side, hopper. So then that way we're able to associate this as we're going through this. So here's just one example as far as a driver come to a residence, the cart's overloaded. So, if it's actually recording the RFID, the driver doesn't have to do anything. We're trying to make this as user-friendly as possible for them. But if they come to, like, for instance, this stop here where it's overloaded, if we would go to try to dump that cart, what would happen is that garbage would falls on the ground, and it would make a mess. So in the past, a lot of times we would get the call in, and sometimes they would call the mayor, sometimes they'd call individuals of the council, and it kind of turned into a he said, she said, so we would just usually pick those things up. But now we're able to actually show that and email that to them because this is live. And then, of course, on the tablet, they would be able to do not out, skipped, overloaded, so then that way it's associated to that specific property. To go in a little bit more, here's kind of like what it shows on our end, so we can actually see it. This is just only one small snapshot, but on the left side is where it kind of shows you what the completion is. So you can see, I'll just use the top one. So they were able to capture 99% of the carts on that route that day. That individual route had 873 scheduled stops, for which they picked up 708. They had 157 skips, which means whether it was overloaded, not out, things of that nature. And then the ones that say not done, that's actually where it was not registered in the RFID or it didn't record it. And so that was kind of part of one of the issues. They'll talk about their breaks that they took. The dumps is when they go to the landfill, the pictures, how much route time it took them to do that, idle time. Anyway, just kind of gives you a small sample. There's a lot more than just this, but at least ways it gives you the breakdown of what that is. So at this point, I'm going to kind of roll this over because I'm going to talk about some of the issues for which we're having. I'm going to let Scott kind of go in a little bit more depth on that.
Hello, Scott Brunson, Sanitation Director. So some of the things we're looking at is even with this system being implemented, we can keep track of carts, the RFIDs and locations of these things. We're still running into problems where residents are swapping carts even after we swap them back. We still have landlords that are hoarding carts and hiding them. A lot of the times when people move out of a residence, neighbors will take their can and use that can instead. So there's still a lot of that happening. So we're coming to many addresses multiple times, trying to repair these. So at some point, we want to look at a need for change, which would be some sort of repercussions as to people that are like repeat offenders, people that are, cart swapping for a larger cart, paying for a small and then taking someone's large and giving them their small, or landlords that are hoarding carts. So basically when a landlord has like a 12-plex and two people move out, they take their 2 carts, put them in a garage, and then when the 2 new residents move in, they say, hey, we don't have any carts, so we have to deliver 2 more carts. In the meantime, they have 2 good carts still on the property. But we just can't locate them because they're hidden. So, and then also doing like chargebacks doing charges for like go backs for people that are continually putting their